this called?
Reciprocity. Or the tuberosity of it.
More confidence? Come on. You know it. I know you guys know it.
Calcaneus.
Yeah, tuberosity of the calcaneus. Okay.
Oh.
And then we have the toes right here, right? And so the proper rotation, we have the third and fifth metatarsal free of superimposition. You see how it has equal space gaps in between? That's another another way you can tell that it's good rotation. If it's superimposed, it's more of a lateral, okay? Because when a lateral of a foot, that's when you want all the metatarsals to be superimposed. So, key factor right here. And then the base of the first and second metatarsal is superimposed. So the base, you see how it's kind of closed right here? And so as the medial and intermediate cuneiforms. So this is what Mr. Donahue was talking about earlier, on how the cuneiforms are changeable, right? So these are the two that are going to be superimposed. So test question right here, okay? What happens during the medial and intermediate cuneiforms during the oblique foot? Those are superimposed, correct? Mm-hmm. And then the other things you want to see is the navicular, lateral cuneiform, cuboid, as well within the image. Those will have less superimpositions than the AP foot. Because in this one you can kind of see the space, the joint gaps in between. But in AP, it was kind of all together, all at once. And you also see, where's the tuberosity of the fifth tarsal located?
Right there.
Is it this right here?
Yeah. A little below.
A little bit lower.
Right, right there? All right, excellent, perfect. And then the lateral tarsal, metatarsal, and intertarsal joints as well. So yeah, in this area, and the tarsal joints.
And that says bony trabeculating soft tissue and sinus.
Yeah, that was a little misprint, I'm sorry.
Oh, this one?
Those two bullet points got kind of
Oh, okay.
it's split in two there.
It's all good. What are you saying, Shamika? No, I'm playing. Like, players make mistakes.
Oh, yeah, players make mistakes.
It's all good. It's all good.
And what is this called? Is this what? A soft tissue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can tell. Awesome. Is there any criteria you guys would change about this?
The marker.
Marker?
I
Okay.
feel like it's really well centered.
Okay, well centered, yeah. Good collimation.
Animation good.
They could
Okay.
probably do a little bit more on the sides, but I feel like it's enough for a physical marker.
Yeah.
So
Send it.
So this is
Send
repeatable
it.
or send it? We're sending it. Right?
Send it.
Yeah, just the marker
That was the
placement.
marker.
That's about it. Or marker.
Physical marker.
Just one physical marker. Yes, ma'am. So everybody good on this slide? Okay, so lateral foot. So the way I like to position my lateral foot is kind of, when you get the foot, it's like this, right? Like lateral. I like to touch the sole of the foot, the plantar surface, and make sure it's directly going down. You gotta kind of feel it. Well, I'll show you. Look at the foot. But yeah, so the patient position, recumbent, right? Laying on the, laying on the.
You just seem a little too excited about that, James.
That's what makes my day, you know? The X-rays all the time.
I'm sorry.
So
I'm
yeah.
having flashbacks of lab. Doing lab.
I got the cover.
How was he?
Did y'all record it?
I wish we had recorded it.
Alright, we're gonna make a music video.
Music video.
Yeah, we're gonna have a music video.
Paris
Before we graduate.
Hill presents
Yeah.
the toes.
The toes. It's gonna be called Toe Chronicles.
H-Town.
By DJ Gamtoa.
Damn toy.
Oh no.
I like it. So yeah, recumbent on the tailbone. Turn affected side until leg and foot are lateral side. So you always, when you do a lateral foot, you will always shoot from medial to lateral. I never seen a foot done lateral and medial. I don't know how they.
You wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that.
It's
Right?
the only projection you'll do on a lateral foot.
Mhm. So he might hit you a question with, as a proper X-ray, lateral to lateral to medial, and then be false, right? So just be aware of that. And place opposite leg behind the effective foot, and that's just basically not to have the other foot within the image. Part positioning, elevate the knee to place the patella perpendicular to the table. So just by doing that, that's how it helps you having a true lateral foot.
Yeah, can you demonstrate that with one of those legs to them? Because that's a very important point on your lateral feet, guys. A lot of people make the mistake of relaxing the leg all the way down. I think there's a full leg with a foot somewhere.
It's probably in the
People
back.
make the mistake of relaxing the entire leg down and it actually obliques your foot when you do that. You don't get a true lateral. It's very important to slightly elevate the knee.
Just do it on the desk. Just get a little stretch in.
There you go.
I'm gonna rip these pants. I'm gonna explain to them.
That's what you want.
Why? What are you doing today, bro?
So yeah, when I'm doing my foot, it has a little bit of obliquity. See how it's kind of curved because the heel it has. So I usually get my hand right here and kind of just tilt it, just like that. So when you have a foot just like laying like this, I kind of just tilt it a little bit so I can get a true true lateral. And so with the knee, you also want to have it straight. You don't want to have it like oblique because it can affect the whole arrangement of the foot.
And that ensures that everything's like superimposed
So in
correctly.
other words,
Did
so
you
in
say
other
bend the
words,
knee?
just to show you guys on a set, in other words, it's very important when you do a lateral on a foot that you don't do this, where the whole leg just relaxes like this. Because I don't know if everyone can see, but the foot's oblique at this point. And we have to bring the
Like bend
leg
the knee.
up to put in that nice true lateral. So that knee needs to be elevated. That's going to depend on the patient, but you can kind of visualize that in the patient's foot that's in a true lateral. Remember, don't relax the leg, look what happens to the foot. So you see that? I don't know if everyone can see that, but we bring the leg up to put it in a true lateral.
And then you get that hand. You see how it's like perpendicular, not slanted. You get the hand, you kind of fix it like that, and that's how you get your true lateral.
Yeah,
And
makes
that's
a big
always
difference.
Can you see? Yeah, I can see. They're just talking about.
You want to do what you want to do what's next. He's going to get to that next.
There's a reason I went to
at
him.
90 degrees is very important. Because they do look at the ankle joint on this x-ray as well.
And what do we always do when there's an ankle joint? Within the image, what do we always do? If we see an ankle joint on the image, what do we want to do with the foot?
Make sure
Dorsey flex.
We always want it flexed, right? Anytime we see an ankle joint, it can be a fibula, ankle joint, Martise, foot, lateral, we always want it to have it flexed, okay guys? Always flexed up. Just like this. You see how it's flexed? It's not hanging down, it's not doing whatever, it's flexed, okay? So yeah, so center foot on the IR, plantar surface of the foot perpendicular to the IR. So that's what I was talking about. You want to like kind of pinch it and kind of make it to a lateral. You can turn it. And then dorsiflex the foot 90 degrees from the leg. So yeah, dorsiflex, okay? You always want to dorsiflex the foot whenever you see an ankle. Whenever the ankle is involved in the image. But you guys get the hang of it. It's not that hard once you learn how to use the elevate the foot and then rotate the foot with your hand. It's not that hard. And where would you place the marker on here?
Lateral.
On the lateral side? Yeah. So it'd be right in front of the, right there. Okay. On to the next.
So did they place their marker there because of the shape or?
Where? This?
I
Yeah,
would-
that's not the proper
I would have put
placement.
it, yeah.
It should be right
top,
here.
yeah.
Right here, top of it, facing up.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's a little different. So the marker, it should be the R should be facing like this, just like that, right? It shouldn't be sideways. It should be going facing up like that. This one's a little different, even though the toes are facing this way. The marker placement is just gonna be facing up, just like this.
So before he goes on, we'll be looking at these x-rays. Once again, guys, as we go through these 3 feet, another gold star question. Let's go back to the cuneiforms. Now that we're in a lateral, all 3 are superimposed. So we're just going to label those as the superimposed cuneiforms. All right?
Okay. So the censura is perpendicular to the base of the third metatarsal. So yeah. So AP axial, AP lateral, they're all based on the third metatarsal.
You kind of have to eyeball it.
You eyeball it, yeah. So it's usually just the mid of the foot. You find the midpoint of the foot, and then that's how you usually do it. And then the entire foot, so structure shown, the entire foot is in profile. You have the ankle joint, and what do we do with the ankle joint? Dorsiflex. Everybody say it. Dorsiflex.
Dorsiflex.
Awesome. All right, thank you. And the distal end of the tibia and the fibula. So you see how you give a little bit of tibia and fibula? And then sometimes when you're in bone clinic, right, they will have some type of metal right here, some type of surgery. So in this situation, this is when you open up the collimation, right? So You open up the column. Whenever you have type of metal and it's cut off, that's when you want to open up the collimation.
So you can visualize it.
Yeah, so whenever they have some type of hardware in there and you cut it off, they want to see the whole thing. So that's when you just open it.
Yeah, they would tell me in outpatient clinic to always ask, well, I mean, you can look on the, paper, like what they're coming in for, but to always ask if they've had like surgery on it.
Yeah.
Just so you know, cause that way you'll probably open it up just a little bit more, so you can get it in there. That way, you don't like, if there's like any metal or something,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
hardware.
Exactly, Cody. Yeah. So yeah, always ask. In outpatient, that's when you really see a lot of hardware. And another thing you can see when you position them, you can see like a scar on them most of the time, and that scar is a good indication that they had surgery, or you can see how much collimation you need to add, and you can adjust with that. Yeah. Alright, we're going to the next. Okay, and then evaluation criteria, again, collimation. It's a little bit more open, there's a lot of more space, but that's just how it has to be because of the anatomy. So you have the entire foot and you have the distal leg, right? And superimposed plantar surface in the metatarsal place. So you can see how, compared to the oblique or the AP, you can see how this is completely superimposed. That's how you know you have a good lateral. The phalanges, the tarsals are superimposed. That's how you know you had a good X-ray. Fibula overlapping posterior portion of the tibia is superimposed right here. That's a good indication as well, good lateral. And you have the tibial-talar joint. And what's that located at?
That's just another way of saying your ankle joint, guys. I don't know if we went over that, but tibio-talar is another way to say ankle joint.
Or the Mortise joint as well. Those are interchangeable, so you might sit down and test all three. So just know all three. It's just like the Compton. You know how Compton had all the different names? Same thing here. Have different names as well. And then, yeah, and you can see the soft tissue as well.
So for lateral, on the cuneiform, superimposed,
Mhm.
for medial, the medial and intermedial,
Medial oblique. Yeah.
those are superimposed with the cuneiform.
No.
Usually.
So yeah, so for lateral, all three cuneiforms are what?
Superimposed.
Right? And then the medial oblique, the medial and intermedial, is that superimposed or free of position? Superimposed, right? And so in the exactly. In the medial oblique, the only one that's free is the lateral. The lateral.
Oh, it's the lateral.
Lateral. It's the lateral.
And the cuboid isn't built.
It's yeah, you can see the cuboid too, but we're specifically talking about the cuneiforms and how you can visualize those. Yeah, you get that? No? So I'm gonna go back. So yeah, see how the superimposition, this is where the intermedial and the medial cuneiform is superimposed. And then when you go to the right, the lateral, the most lateral cuneiform, you can kind of see the outline of it. That's why it's not considered superimposed. But when you go to the lateral, you can't see none of the joints. They're all superimposed. So we have the AP axial feet weight bearing method. So you can do this standing up, but it's not in here. But let's say they're in a wheelchair type of patient, they can't stand up, they're really old. You can sit them down. You can tell them to put as much pressure as they can on the foot, right? On the cassette.
We need you to, right?
Huh?
Like we need you to, right?
We need you to, but sometimes
I need you to go.
I know, right? But the best thing you can say, patient, best image to due to patient circumstances, right?
Right.
That's the favorite thing to do. Alright, okay, patient position, yeah. And the part position, ire on the floor, patient stands on the ire with the feet, right and left marker, and then upright marker place. Weight equally distributed. So yeah, anytime you guys have the same anatomy, like example, let's say you have an X-ray with 2 hands, an X-ray with 2 knees, with 2 feet, you always want to add the right and left marker. Always add the right and left marker. And then weight equally distributed. You don't want them leaning on one side more on the other, because that makes it, so the right foot was adding more pressure to it, that will open up the joints a little bit more. than the left, right? So you want to have them both equally the same amount of pressure on both sides. Yes, sir?
So if we comp on a AP axial feet, I don't know if it's on the list, but if it is, and you come up with the image that only has a right marker and a digital left marker, would that be considered a repeat?
That'd be, well, you wouldn't repeat it in clinic, but as far as comp goes, you need both markers.
Both markers?
Both
Okay.
markers.
So for bilateral,
You need left and right.
because I've seen them use a physical and then just throw a left. I think we have one like that on the slides.
Yeah, and then same thing, everything that you do in this projection is in the name, right? So axial, you know you got angulation to the tube. Weight bearing, you know you gotta have them apply pressure to the feet. Okay. So the angulation is the same thing as a regular AP. You know, we had 10 degrees towards the heel. This is the most optimal way, right? Because what does it do when we have angulation? Open the joint spaces, correct. And a minimum of 15 degrees usually necessary to allow the room for tube and patient to stand. Position between the feet at the level of the base of the third metatarsal. So yeah, so we're aiming at the same third metatarsal. The only thing difference, instead of aiming on top of the foot, we're gonna be aiming in between the foot. So we can just get that great collimation on both sides of the feet. So that's a test question right there. What would you aim between, what would you aim in the weight bearing method? You would aim at the third metatarsal between the feet, okay? And the SID, it's
Different.
different, it's increased. So highlight this one, guys. Very important. SID is at 48 inches, okay? That's different than all the other projections that we have done. The other ones, what were they at? 40. Okay, awesome. And then this one's at 48 inches. To reduce magnification and to improve spatial resolution. So that's the reason why we increased the SID on that one. These two main factors right here.
That's gonna help, I mean, especially with that spatial resolution, because one thing to keep in mind is if you look where that central ray is going, it's not actually penetrating any of the feet. It's going between the feet.
Mhm.
So naturally, because we're not penetrating apart, the spatial resolution is gonna suffer. That's why we increase that SID and try to mitigate that a little bit and give it a clearer image.
So how does that affect like absorption and whatnot? Because we're not shooting directly at.
It's just gonna, widen the beam, so
Okay.
it'll
The
get a little bit
divergence.
better penetration.
You said divergence?
Yeah.
Is
The
that the
that's
term?
what I'm thinking,
Okay.
divergence, yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, are these the ones that we're gonna also take advantage of, like, if every 5 degrees is 1 inch off of the SID? Mr. Funk, give us a little.
On this one, no. This one you want to keep that 48 inches.
Okay.
What is the spatial resolution like?
That's how clear the image is essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically,
Like how HD is what I always tell everybody, you know, if you look at a TV screen at 1080p, it's got real high spatial resolution, it's nice and clear, but if you look at a TV, it's really fuzzy or noisy, as they say. That's low spatial resolution, it's hard to see. So you know how some images in X-ray are very clear, some are kind of fuzzy? The lower the spatial resolution, the more fuzzy it looks, the higher, the more clear and pretty it looks.
Okay, thank you.
and the best way you can tell by spatial resolution, like this one's pretty good, but when you look on the edge of the bone, you can see how sharp the edge is. So you can see how crystal cut it is. But
That's
if it's-
sharpness.
Sharpness, right?
Sharpness.
Okay.
right? But if it's really blurry, not good spatial resolution, it'd be really like not as clear defined edge it has.
So you could possibly miss like a pathology or like a fracture or something like that if your spatial resolution is not optimal.
It's possible.
You could, it's like a really tiny hairline fracture.
Very possible. And then with these X-rays, I like, no matter how old they are, how young they are, I always like to give them some type of support. You know, give them like an extra chair or something, because they're gonna be standing up, and you don't know how long these people can stand up for, and you don't want the burden of them falling on you, right? So just always make sure they always have something to hold on to. And most of the time, these X-rays, they're mostly with old patients. They have arthritis. They don't like standing up, so just always be aware. Give them some support.
Try doing it on babies.
On babies.
Would you have them
That's
in the
fine.
Picosat then?
We don't use picostats.
It's illegal now.
TCH, it's illegal to use biggest text.
I just saw one.
It's going on
TCH.
first.
Oh, okay.
Not yourself.
Lo siento.
Okay, so structure shown, so allows accurate evaluation comparison of tarsal and metatarsal. So yeah, this is why it's really important to have equal weight on both legs, on both feet, just to make sure they can have a great comparison to look at. So evaluation criteria, proper collimation, and then both feet centered. When it means both feet centered, just like at the third metatarsal. And you want to see the toes all the way to the tarsal bones, right? May include portion of the talus and calcaneus, and correct marker placement. And how many markers do we do? We only use one or two? Two, right? And then the boning detailed in the soft tissue as well. So basically, so would you guys say this is an acceptable image, or possibly, would we send this, or would we do this?
I would say that.
No, I see that.
I mean, he almost cut off the big toe. It's very close.
Very, very close.
But, I mean, it's there.
It's still there, yeah.
It's not entirely centered
It's
exactly,
readable.
but I don't think it's enough for
He
it
was
to
old,
matter.
he
Did
couldn't.
you take advantage of the anti-heel
It's sendable.
supplements?
Oh, it's sendable.
You could.
Oh,
Not
Did
necessary.
they?
I mean, on this one, I don't know if they did on this one.
Just the,
Would it
just
be like?
see how you can see the line.
Would you be able to see everything clearly if you?
It's gonna be more clear in comparison, yes.
Because I feel like
It's not gonna be a huge difference, but it's gonna be one of the subtle differences about the quality.
just the, I don't know if it would clear up the posterior aspect
It
of.
could a little bit. It's gonna be more a subtle difference than a.
So would you just present the patient like in the opposite way that you normally? Okay.
Mhm.
She has a question.
Yes.
What is bony
Bony trabeculae is the bony detail, like the little porous indentations in the bone, like the little details.
Which one?
That one's a little hard
Like
to
the
see.
different shades and all that?
Like the little shades, like the little pores and the little
It's easier to see
lines,
on
the
the-
grainy, little grainy parts of the bone.
Because you know bone, it's like, it has
It's
a lot of
porous.
holes in there, right?
It's porous.
Porous. That's just saying we were able to see that
Basic details of
of the bone. Going on to the next. So we have the lateral weight bearing method. So this one can be done upright or seated, depending on the patient's conditioning, right? Whatever's easier for them. On the lower rise or on the block. You see how they have a block right here? And so I know outpatient and an LBJ, they have one of these blocks. You can do these. And position iron in the iron groove of the stool or between the blocks, standing 1 foot at each side of the iron. Weight equally distributed. Iron is centered on the base of the third metatarsal, and the medial surface of the foot is against the iron. So again, we're also doing a lateral to medial projection, okay?
And obviously for this guy, you'll do these one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not gonna get both at the same time, which, if you look at that, that wouldn't be possible. So it's really important you do what? Turn your cassette between two projections as well.
Oh,
Otherwise,
good
you're not gonna
point.
get anything.
With these projections, like feet weight bearing or knee weight bearing, I always like to demonstrate to the patient, this is what we're gonna be doing today. We'll do the left side, right side, and then it just gives them confidence and it just makes the process a lot easier. I highly recommend just to demonstrate to them what we're gonna be doing today, and just make it a lot more easier.
One question.
Yes, sir?
I think I missed this. For the AP axial feet, where do you center again?
So it's the third metatarsal.
They said
I mean the
metatarsal.
weight bearing one, the bilateral weight bearing one.
At the third metatarsal, but between the feet.
Oh, between the feet.
Between the feet, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And again, just give them that some type of support. They can use the little handle that IO has, or they can get something to hold right here. You can use one of the canes. They might walk with a cane. Tell them to use that too as well. And emphasize apply pressure on the foot too.
Is this another one that we could have them sit in with?
You could.
No, it's like right here. It's like before the curves.
So third of the base metatarsal. So if you guys ever forget, let's say in clinicals, whether where to find it, when in doubt, the midline of the foot. You just find the midpoint of the foot and just aim it right there, right? And right here in this image, it actually has the proper correction of the marker placement. They're using a physical marker and then placing it anterior of the foot. Okay. So this is exactly what a weight-bearing lateral foot would look like. Is there a reason why they add a stool there, or is it just
The stool.
The stool or the block?
one of these wooden things? Or the block?
Is there a reason for
Yeah,
it?
is there a reason for
To
it?
help get centered to the cassette better.
Oh, get higher, okay.
He built them up.
Yeah.
And you build them up, okay.
Good point.
On to the next. So lateral feet weight-bearing method. So the criteria we want to see today is that collimation is always a big factor. Just like a lateral foot, almost identical to a lateral foot, right? You want to get the entire foot, the distal leg as well. Superimpose plantar surface of the metatarsal heads. You can see how it's, it won't be exactly lateral as a lateral foot because you can have more flexibility with it. But with the weight bearing, it's somewhat superimposed. It's not completely superimposed, but this is the best you can do when you're in that position. And then fibula overlapping posterior portion of tibia. Good, another indication of the lateral. And then the tibia tendon joint. What is that also known as? Boom, perfect. And then bony tubercular detail of soft tissue, right? You see the soft tissue, and you see the detail in the bone.
I think it's fun to look at that. Look at how much that padding on the bottom of your feet supports your body. Like, it's not the bone supporting your body, it's really the padding in your feet. It's cushioning all that. So it's a lot stronger than it looks.
What hurts the entire?
It looks like the feet bones are almost like floating in a way. You look at that. The muscles and the tissue holds all that.
Would that be an anatomy question?
What? The arch?
Back foot and that.
A lot of mistakes on this one. This one.
Hmm?
A lot of mistakes on these PowerPoints.
On mistakes.
Like the food. It's like food.
Oh, well, you do have to have your food on there. You know,
If
especially
you're
when it's-
jailing, right?
Hey man,
When it's lunchtime, you know, it's really important you include your sandwich and your chips on there too.
Only
That
for
way
jail.
they know what you were eating while you took the X-ray.
Nice.
Wait,
Under
so
the
There's proper documentation that covers all your tracks. You can't say you were eating a hot dog, you were eating a sandwich. That's important.
And the best part, you can get the toe jam on there for the side.
Oh, God.
Second hour.
I'm telling you, that's a dessert right there.
You can have a little mark that says cocoa butter was applied.
Ooh, cocoa butter is applied.
Yeah.
We need like a
They need
personal
a
physical
digital
marker. Put it right there.
we do have a digital marker.
No, I'm saying it says cocoa butter
CBA.
with applied.
Oh, for a
Cocoa butter
digital
applied, CBA. Hey, it's gonna be foot dash CBA.
Must have been hungry when I typed that.
So we have the calcaneus. These are pretty rare to see, but these do happen. And like I said, whenever you guys go to clinics, always bring your markers because you never know what can happen. Every time I go to clinic and I forget my marker, it'll be the comps that I need. So, so example, calcaneus. And these are actually pretty nice to take. These are one of my favorite ones to take just to get the angulation right.
They look nice when you do
Yeah,
them.
when you have it nice, you can see it. But okay, the axial. What does axial mean? We're adding angulation into it, right? And then plantar dorsal. That's just the path of the beam. It's entering plantar, the bottom of the foot, and exiting on the top, the dorsal part. And then the main objective is the calcaneus, correct? So with this, you can do the supine or seated position with the legs fully extended. So the patient is going to be supine. You just put the cassette under the foot. And again, I like to do the angle first, get the right foot, and then put the cassette. Part position, ankle is right, ankle and right angle dorsiflexion. Yeah, again, so anytime we have an ankle or Mortise, you always want to have a dorsiflex on the foot. Support might be needed, yeah. So usually some people can't do this. So the best way to do it, like Mr. Donahue said, put some lead on, thyroid shield, and just have someone hold the foot, flex it up for them, and then you can take the x-ray. And then the ankle centering. So do you have one where it's showing from the bottom?
Huh?
Do you have one with pictures? that's
Oh, that
showing-
shows the light field?
Yeah, that shows the light field.
I'm not sure.
We recorded it in lab. It's on the YouTube, or gonna be on the YouTube.
Really? Okay. But yeah, when you do the ankling, the CR, I usually like to touch the malleolus, you know, the lateral and the medial malleolus. That's where it should be entering from. The CR should be.
Melanie, wake up.
And then, okay, so the center ray, key word. The key word is how much angle is in the, it's 40 degrees, okay? That's the key number. 40 degrees when you do axial, plantar, dorsal, calcaneus. Entering the plantar surface and the base of the third metatarsal. So you can't really palpate the third metatarsal. That's why I say you need it's mostly preferred to look at the lateral and the medial malleolus, palpate those, and that's where the CR will be entering from. So the structure shown, the actual projection of the calcaneus and the talocalcaneal joint are in profile, right? So we have the medial side right here and the lateral side right here. And this is a pretty good image of the calcaneus right here.
You'll see the custom tech patella.
Yeah. What side is it on? Is it on the medial side, lateral side?
Medial.
Medial.
Which is the curved side.
Curved side, right? And you see a little S right here? Man, it's kind of curvy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the end of the curve right here, yeah. So it's right there. I like to just follow that curve, and once that curve kind of stops, that's where it should be. Yes, ma'am?
You said it's gonna enter
So-
between the malleolus.
The central ray enters the base of the third metatarsal, which you're not really gonna see
He
that.
just likes to feel.
You're not really gonna see or be able to palpate that, but that's ultimately where it should be.
I think
You know.
Mr. Donahue, I have a question.
is it
So the angle is
It's-
40 degrees
40
towards the
degrees.
heel.
Towards the middle.
Okay.
See how it's coming?
Yeah.
So if your tube's pointing down, you're curving it 40 towards the hill.
Mhm.
If you're pointing straight down, towards the hill.
And this is what I was talking about. When you get the calcaneus, you want to dorsiflex and then kind of palpate it with those two fingers right here. You get the medial and the lateral malleolus. That's the best way to, in my opinion, to palpate and where to place the CR at.
It's a better guide, yes, because you can't really palpate the base of that third metatarsal, unfortunately.
Okay, so the evaluation. Yeah, it is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the evaluation criteria, evidence of collimation always, and the calcaneus and talocalcaneal joint as well. So you can kind of see it right there. You see that sharp line right here?
Mhm.
That's where the calcaneus and talocalcaneal joint would be. And then no rotation in the calcaneus. And how would you specifically check for the rotation on that? Would you say?
So, as it says right there, if we see that sesentecum tellium profile, which we do, and the first to fifth metatarsals are not visible, they're all superimposing each other, that tells us that the foot's in a nice straight position as well. If we see those metatarsals like going to the sides, that tells us that the foot's been rotated. They're all kind of bunched up on top of each other, superimposed. That's what you see at the top of that image. That's where we'll stop today. Well, no, it's
So that's it, class. Anybody have further questions for today? Okay. So what cuneiforms are superimposed on the medial oblique?
The medial and the
Okay, and then what's not superimposed?
The lateral.
Lateral. And then in the lateral foot, what's superimposed?
all of them.
Oh, awesome. How much angulation for a calcaneus?
40.
40
Going where?
towards the heel.
Towards the heel. Yeah, all the angulations is going towards the heel, right? So for the toes, what is it?
15.
Going where?
Yeah.
Right? And then with the foot?
10 towards the heel.
Towards the heel. Towards the heel.
At
Towards
the
the heel.
base of the third.
And what's the reason? What's the reason why we have this angulation for?
Spaces.
And if
Huh?
Mr. Donahue put a picture of a foot, which one would you look at more specifically to see if it's an axial or AP?
The middle
You're going
parts
towards.
MTP,
Oh,
the IPs and the
IP joint, right?
TPs and
The
the
IP
Good
joint.
questions.
DIPs and the
What is it?
PIPs and the
The IP
APs.
joint. The IP joint is the most visible joint because you can really
Call
tell the pose on the AP this is AP axle, so we always look for that.
No, I got you.
I hate driving, so. But other than that, we did good, guys. Very proud of y'all.
Good job for you
And
too.
good job, Jay, on these two.
Yeah.
It's hard to get up here and teach.
Uh-huh.
It's difficult, so.
I hope I
Well
did
done.
some type of good for y'all. You
You
learned.
did. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Just don't screw us up.
Thank you, Mr.
And he has our.
Mr. Donahue, I have a question though, on that